He was born into the vast, unforgiving steppe, a world of endless sky and brutal horizons. Legend says that in 1162, the boy who would be known as Genghis Khan came into the world clutching a blood clot in his tiny fist, a prophecy, a sign of the conqueror he was destined to become. But his path was not one of privilege. After the poisoning of his father, his own tribe abandoned him, his mother and his siblings leaving them to die in the desolate freeze of the Mongolian winter. In this crucible of hardship, the boy Temujin did not perish. He learned to survive. He hunted, he fought, and he endured, his will hardening like steel. His resilience made him a threat. Captured by a rival clan and locked in a wooden kanga, he was marked for a life of servitude. But even in shackles, his spirit was untamed. He escaped under the cloak of night, a testament to the cunning and resolve that would one day conquer kingdoms. After years of struggle, he sought out his betrothed Borte, fulfilling an alliance made in his childhood. Their wedding was more than a marriage. It was the foundation of his first army, the first step on a journey that would see the scattered tribes of Mongolia united and the largest land empire in history, born from the will of a single, indomitable man. The fragile peace of Temujin's new life was shattered. In a brutal raid, the rival Merkit tribe stole his wife, Borte, an act of aggression that would ignite a fire across the steppes. This was more than a kidnapping. It was a challenge, and Temujin's response would define his destiny. He sought help from his father's old ally Togrul and his childhood friend and blood brother Jamuka. This crisis forced him to forge the alliances that would become the bedrock of his power. Together they crushed the Merkits and rescued Borte, a victory that earned Temujin a reputation as a formidable leader. But alliances on the steppe were as shifting as the sands. His growing influence created a rivalry with Jamuka, splitting the Mongols into two camps. The ambition to unite the tribes could not be shared. This rivalry exploded into open war. Temujin began to consolidate his power, demonstrating a genius for military organization and a ruthlessness that inspired both fear and unwavering loyalty. His forces, a disciplined and mobile cavalry, became an extension of his will. The Battle of the 13 Sides was one of many brutal conflicts on this path, a chaotic crucible where blood was shed to forge a single, unified people from the scattered, warring clans. The outcast was becoming a Khan. With the tribes united, a nation was forged not just by will but by innovation. The Mongol composite bow, a marvel of engineering, could outrange any other. In the hands of a master horseman, it became the ultimate weapon, allowing them to strike with deadly precision while galloping at full speed. This was the engine of the new empire. In 1206, at a great council on the plains, the man known as Temujin was given a new name, one that would echo through history. Genghis Khan, ruler of all. The scattered tribes were now one nation with one leader, and their eyes turned outward. Their first target was the ancient and wealthy Jin dynasty of northern China. The Great Wall, a barrier that had stood for centuries, could not stop them. By 1215, the Khan's army was at the gates of the capital, Zhongdu. The siege was a vision of hell, as Mongol engineering, learned from captured artisans, unleashed fire and destruction upon the city. But while one conquest was ending, a new, more terrible war was about to begin. Seeking to open trade routes to the west, Genghis Khan sent emissaries to the powerful Khwarezmian Empire. The Sultan, in an act of breathtaking arrogance, executed the envoys. He had not just spurned a trade deal, he had signed the death warrant for his entire empire. The insult could not be borne. For executing his diplomats, the Khwarezmian Sultan had doomed his empire. In 1219, Genghis Khan unleashed a storm of vengeance. He gathered an army the likes of which the world had never seen, and in a brilliant strategic move, led a portion of it across the supposedly impassable Kizil-Kum desert to appear where he was least expected. The great Silk Road cities of Bukhara and Samarkand, centers of culture and learning, were erased from the map. The Khan's wrath was absolute, a brutal lesson in the price of defiance. While the heart of the empire was torn out, the Khan dispatched his finest generals, Subutai and Jebe, on the longest cavalry raid in history to hunt down the fleeing sultan. The chase led them across Persia, over the towering Caucasus Mountains, and into the lands of the Rus. In 1253, at the Kalka River, a coalition of Kievan princes, confident in their numbers and heavy armor, met the strange invaders. But they were facing a new kind of warfare. The Mongols executed a feigned retreat, luring the overconfident princes into a devastating encirclement. It was a slaughter. The Mongol storm had now arrived at the very gates of Europe, and the continent had no idea what was coming. To rule the largest empire the world had ever known required more than just armies. It required speed. Genghis Khan established the Yam, a revolutionary messenger system. Riders on a vast network of relay stations could carry a message from one end of the empire to the other, faster than any other power on Earth. This nervous system of conquest also created an unprecedented era of peace. For the first time in centuries, the Silk Road was safe. Under the Pax Mongolica, trade, ideas, and cultures flowed freely from China to Europe, protected by the Khan's decree. In his final years, the once abandoned boy was the master of a quarter of the world. He ruled not from a stone palace, but from a grand yurt, a testament to his nomadic soul. But no man, not even a Khan, can conquer mortality. In 1227, during a hunt, he fell from his horse. The injury, combined with his age, proved fatal. The great conqueror's death was kept a secret until his final campaign was won. He was buried in a secret location, his funeral procession killing all who witnessed it, to ensure his final resting place would remain a mystery forever. The man was gone, but the empire he built would change the world for centuries to come. Genghis Khan conquered the world, but his final wish was to vanish from it. His death in 1227 set in motion one of history's greatest disappearing acts. A secret funeral procession carved a path of death through the Mongolian heartland, killing every person and animal encountered to protect its secret. The slaves who built his tomb were executed, and the soldiers who killed them were slain in turn. 1,000 horses were galloped over the earth to obliterate any sign of the grave, and a river was diverted to flow over the site, sealing it under a watery shroud. Yet from this brutal conquest grew an unprecedented peace. The Pax Mongolica, the Mongol peace, secured the continent. For a century, the Silk Road was safer than it had ever been, allowing trade, technology, and ideas to flow between East and West. The empire forged in blood created an era of global connection. Today, that final secret remains kept. In the remote mountains of Mongolia, archaeologists armed with modern technology continue the hunt, searching for the final resting place of the great Khan, the one part of his empire that has never been conquered. In the remote Khenti province of Mongolia lies a land locked away by history, a place known as the Ich Korig, the Great Taboo. For 800 years, this vast untouched wilderness has been guarded, first by the descendants of Genghis Khan's elite warriors, and now by the state. This is the Forbidden Zone, and it holds one of the world's greatest mysteries, the final resting place of the Khan himself. Legend says that to ensure his tomb would never be found, his funeral escort killed anyone who witnessed their journey, and then were themselves silenced. A river was diverted over his grave, and 1,000 horses trampled the ground to erase any trace. His true tomb was not a structure, but the landscape itself, a sacred mountain, Burkhan Khaldun, and the surrounding territory. It was a mausoleum built by nature and sealed by a vow of eternal secrecy. Today, the search continues. Archaeologists and scientists from around the world use satellite imagery, drones, and ground-penetrating radar, hoping to find a clue, a disturbance in the earth. They scan the valleys and mountainsides, trying to listen to the secrets the land holds. Yet the Forbidden Zone remains silent. The spirit of the great Khan rests undisturbed, his final command unbroken, his tomb protected by the vast, wild heart of the empire he created.